Hello there. In this tutorial we're going to briefly take you through the elency-config's node client, just a quick demonstration on how you consume configuration into an application. So from the last tutorial we created a team and an app and some basic configuration, so we'll kind of carry on from there. So we have our awesome app with a test environment and it has some configuration. So the latest published configuration for the test environment and that app is this one here. So let's get down to consuming configuration. So the first thing we'll do is a npm init. And we'll create an index.js. Next thing we'll do is just refer to the README with the client. So if we just, as a starting point, nick this code. Right, so basically when the elency-config server is set up, HMAC authorization keys configured for retrieving tokens, but each environment will have its own configuration encryption key. So best practice is not to include these in your code bases. They should be injected in. So we're going to retrieve them from environment variables. Okay, we'll take them out. The environment is test. Let's say our current app version is 1. The app ID is awesome app. And we'll be pulling our configuration from a local server. Okay, right. So we've configured 2 callbacks. One for when we retrieve configuration and one for if retrieval fails for some reason, or when a refresh is configured. So if you're refreshing the configuration, as this interval says, you're attempting to refresh if configuration is changed every 10 seconds. If that fails, this callback would be fired, the refresh failure. So let's okay, so the first thing we'll have to do is initialize. So we've created the client, but the client instance, but we need to initialize it to tell it to go off and get its configuration. This is a synchronous method, so it's advised that you should pull down your configuration when your app is starting up. And if it fails to pull down configuration, you should just kill your app. Something major has gone wrong. You're dependent on configuration. So ideally, you would kind of wrap this in a try-catch. Output the error, maybe, and process exit 1. If something went wrong retrieving configuration, so you would essentially a very high level, this is like a very basic demo. So as you can see, I'm pulling these values from environment variables. I've got this little command here I've nicked. So I know what my HMAC, not nicked, wrote. I know what my HMAC keys are. So I'm basically defining them as environment variables and running the node process. So if I copy that command and execute, you'll see I can't find module elency-config. That's because I've not installed it. Okay, so we now got our node modules, and if we run this command again, I'm getting another error. Why am I getting you? Let's just check. I've left this as HTTPS. On you again. Right, you can see I've retrieved a configuration, and you can also see the app is still running. Now this is because I've got a refresh interval defined, so I'm saying every 10,000 seconds go off to the server and just see, based on my current configuration hash, whether a new version exists. If so, it will pull it down. If not, it will just wait for the next period. So you'll see that if we don't care about refreshing, I'll just comment that out and run. It will just run and die. So if we go back to documentation, look at functions, you'll see there's various things I can get. Based on the configuration that's pulled down, I can get the app version, the environment, a configuration ID. I can call a get function with a key, which will return undefined if a value couldn't be found, or the value. I can get all keys. I can tell it to force refresh. There's also some wrapper functions that will convert values to specific types, such as an object. But let's just quickly demo. I don't want to make this demo too long-winded, but as you can see, we had a retrieve fired, so we managed to pull down the configuration. So let's log some stuff out. App version. Let's log out the app version. We'll log out the configuration ID. The environment. And then what I'm going to do now is iterate for all keys. So I'm going to call dot get key, get all keys, dot for each key, and I'm going to log out, console log, and key and elency-config. Now if we run that, hopefully, right, you'll see the retrieve fired is logged out, the ID 2E77, which is this, and the correct values. It's also decrypted the MongoDB URL, which is an encrypted value, and the app died because it has nothing else to do. So the last thing I want to show you in this quick demo, let's set the refresh interval to 5,000. Okay, we'll just clear this and we'll run the app. So you'll see it's pulled down some configuration. In the background it will be every 5,000. You won't want to do this probably every 30 seconds, 1 minute. You may want to refresh your application. Depends how often you change things, but essentially this is just sitting there every 5 seconds polling. So if we go back to our configuration, let's create a new one. Let's change the log level to error. We'll leave a MongoDB URL as it is. Change this. We'll add something else. Okay, so we go back to the app. It's still sitting there quite happily. Nothing's changed. So let's create a configuration, which is going to be this one, 5990. We're going to publish you. So still no change. We'll publish you. And we'll go back. And you'll see that it has already fired and retrieved a new configuration. So with this updated blob, again, I can copy the value. Again, it will not have pulled that down yet. If I publish you and come back, it's gone off and retrieved the latest configuration. So at a very basic high level, I mean, it's up to the consumer how they would use this, the server and the client. But at a basic level, these are the high level features it offers. I hope it is of use to you. Any feedback is greatly received. Thank you.